My name is Samuel Eni. This is the Future State. Hello, everyone. Is everyone good? Fantastic. That's the energy that I need. I thrive off of energy. Now, this session that we're about to get into is navigating the 2024 job market. I asked this question earlier in the session. Now that we have more people, I do want to find out some more about you, even though we're against a bit of time, so I won't take too much time. Can I have a show of hands already, people who are working in tech? Show of hands? Okay. There's a few people. And then can I now have a show of hands of people who are trying to get into tech, pivoting? Okay. Who's just here for vibes? Put your hand up. Okay, cool. Vibes. I hear it. All right. Without further ado, I'm going to need you guys to give a massive round of applause for our next panelists. Please welcome onto the stage Chrissy, Jade, Stefan, and Arsema.
Hello. How's everybody doing?
Hello, everyone.
Hello, people.
Anyone out there? No? Hello? Hi.
Hey, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
So thank you very much for coming to join our conversation on navigating the 2024 tech market. So if I go into introductions, so I'm Arsema Fessehazion, the founder of Black Recruiters Network and also a tech recruiter as well. And thank you. And we're going to go down the line here. Chrissy's.
My name is Chrissy. I lead the talent function at Assembly Global, which is a global marketing agency.
Hello, people. My name is Stephen, and I'm the founder and CEO of an organization called Beyond Education. And we essentially help organizations attract diverse talent using social media. So my face is always plastered all over social media, trying to help people get jobs.
My name's Jade. I work for a company called Song Trader. We specialize in music technology, and I oversee the recruitment there, and yeah.
Perfect. Well, everyone, settle in. We're going to be here for half an hour. Okay, so to start with, we thought we'd take this conversation kind of like the flow through the candidate experience. So if we're starting off, we're going to start off where applications usually start, is with the CV. Now, I know I've seen a lot of conversation online as to like how to do your CV, AI and CVs and all of that kind of stuff. But what I wanted to get some insight from you guys on is like from the CVs that you review in your day jobs and those that you help people with as well, what are some things that maybe people aren't doing the best or misconceptions about their CVs?
Your CV does not need to be 5 pages long. Let's be real, people don't care. They're not going to read it. When you think about it, your CV is the first opportunity for you to make an impression. When you look at your CV, you need to look at it yourself and think, if I was an external person looking at my CV in the first 5 seconds, is it obvious what I do? Is it clear what my skills are? If you have a role that needs certain qualifications, are they on there? One of my biggest pet peeves personally is seeing people who have great experience, they have a wealth of experience, but that doesn't come through on their CV because there's just too much information on there. In my personal opinion, CV should be clear, concise. You don't need to have a cover page or cover letter that's like, an epistle of your life. Clear, concise, direct.
Nice. I feel like I'm not really going to over-explain on the CV better than recruiters, but I think the perspective I would give is more so how to like craft the perfect CV in order to get a job. And I always say like it's not about how, but it's who. So if you're someone that's looking to be a data analyst, for example, and let's say you're trying to pivot or you never have any experience of being a data analyst, just go on LinkedIn, type in data analyst, and a bunch of people that are mutual connections or like second connections to people that you're connected with, reach out to them and ask them to review your CV and help you, because that is way more easier and way more tailored advice in terms of the actual CV you need to get the job, rather than thinking, okay, cool, I need to use like what I think I need to put on this CV. So always think it's not about how, but who can you find. And I'm gonna be so real with you, no one owes you a response. So you're probably gonna get as much airtime as possible, but like things worth like getting are really hard. So it's a thing where you just have to put in the reps and like reach out to as much people as possible to kind of get that advice. And then the second thing I'd say with the CV is more so like, look at the transferable skills. So if you're someone that's a customer service advisor and you're going for a data analyst role, I keep on thinking about data analyst for some weird reason, but if you're someone that's a customer service advisor, don't harp on about all the things that you do in your customer service job that is not related to like things that a data analyst would do. Try and find relatable things in your customer service job that is related to like analyzing data, looking at large sets of things and interpreting conclusions in order to put that on your CV. Because again, the reason why your CV would get airtime is that if someone is looking to recruit a data analyst, but they're just seeing customer service advisor and they don't see any link of what's related to like being a data analyst, then they're not really going to look at your CV. So that's my 2 cents on kind of CVs in that respect.
For me, I think I'm going to keep it plain and simple, and I'm going to say people aren't reading their CVs. What I see a lot is people using AI or ChatGPT to like write their CVs, copying and pasting everything from there onto their CVs, and we can tell that it's AI written, number one. Number two, when you write your CV, make sure the things that are on there are things that you've actually done. Don't lie. Like, I think recruiters we're experts in our field, so we can see when you haven't done something, and it's just going to show throughout the whole interview process. So I think the best thing for a CV, just stay as truthful as possible. Make sure you're coming across, like he said, as clear and concise as possible as well. But just make sure you read through it and make sure everything on there is true to who you are.
I think just like another quick point from me, when you're putting your CV together, another sort of mistake, if you will, that I see people make is not explaining what they actually do. You can say what your responsibilities are, that's fine, but what have you actually done? When a recruiter or someone is looking at your CV, if you are just listing your responsibilities, effectively you just put your job description on there. You're not giving them any insight into what your achievements are, tangible things that you've done. So yes, one of your responsibilities might be to lead a data function. Okay, great. But when you did that, what did you achieve? Who were you supporting? Who reported into you? What are were there any financial benefits to the company? Did you save anyone any money? Put some life and flavor into your CV, something that will engage the person that's looking at it and make them actually want to call you,
Yeah, it's absolutely true. I think what we've seen a lot this year, especially with like how we're reviewing CVs and profiles, is very much impact over responsibilities. If I'm just seeing a list of responsibilities, there's not too much I can do with that because I want to see the impact that you've made in that role and previous roles. And I would say a note for everyone to remember, average stat in recruitment, recruiters will look at your CV on average 7 seconds. I'm scanning for words, I'm scanning for things that stand out. I'm not reading line by line. So I'd say definitely when you are having someone to review it, give them a 7, maybe 10 seconds, allow them a bit of time. Give them like a 10-second timer, read your CV, and then repeat back to you what they've learned in that 10 seconds. If it's not the main points, then you need to kind of go back and improve it in those areas. Yeah, essentially. But then the CV obviously is only the first part. That's just getting to the point of applying. When you are now in the process of applying, I think a lot of people feel like they will submit their CV for a role and then wait. This is not the market to be waiting in. The tech industry is going through challenges, let's say, in terms of like the hiring and also just the amount of people on the market that are looking for opportunities as well. So, question to you all, after people have submitted their CVs for applications, what can they be doing to be more kind of proactive in that process as well?
Yeah, I don't mind taking this one. I feel like the UK has this culture of not wanting to do the most, not coming across as a beg and kind of being cool. And I feel like, as Arsema kind of mentioned, especially in this job market, that is the last thing you want to be doing. I've actually advised a couple of people to do this, and it really works. Whenever you send in an application, try and find the hiring manager of that function and message them on LinkedIn and be like, hey, I just sent my application in, like, and just kind of like be at the top of mind. And the thing is, subconsciously, when they're actually like reviewing CVs and stuff, like naturally, like you've kind of placed that food of thought in their head as well. And I think as well, like, if you think about it, when you're submitting applications, everyone is submitting a CV. You know what I mean? Everyone's just applying for a job in a basic format. I'm so sorry, write a cover letter. Write a cover letter. Do you know what I mean? Try and do something to stand out. And let's say, for example, I keep on using this data analytics thing, but that's the only example I can have in my head. If you're applying for an organization and you want to be a data analyst, look in their industry, try and put together some sort of project where you've analyzed data that's relevant to their organization and give them some insights. You need to do a lot of stuff in order to stand out in this job market, because that is the only way you're going to be able to, like, cut through the noise, because everybody is just sending CVs. So you need to try and find a way to basically stand out.
Yeah, no, I'm going to echo what you said. Go on LinkedIn, connect with the hiring manager, see if you can find whoever works in the talent acquisition function at the company. And also, on top of that, attend, like you guys are already doing the work, but attend networking events. Go on that company's LinkedIn, see if they've got anything coming up that you can go to, like make yourself known within that industry. I connect with if you go on my LinkedIn, I think I've got like 6,000 plus connections, or I follow so many people, because you build your network that way. Post on LinkedIn, build your LinkedIn account, like make yourself visible. Like Arsema said, the job market is crazy right now. It's very competitive, it's very saturated. So you just have to put yourself out there. It's like putting yourself right in someone's face.
I think if you are in a situation or a position where you are looking to pivot as well, you're doing something, you want to go into something different, you have to do the work, just like Jade said. Yes, you might not have experience in that particular field, but what can you do? There are so many qualifications available online that you can do for free, some that are paid. You need to put yourself, again, in a position that makes you look desirable to the employer. There are thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of people that are applying for the same job. Why are you special? What is it that makes you stand out? If you can't answer that yourself, fix it, do something about it, go online. We are in an internet age now where you can find anything on Google, you can find anything on YouTube. Give yourself the advantage, do yourself a favor.
There's 2 points Jade and Chrissy mentioned that we're going to deeper into. 1, networking, and 2, pivoting. Now, this space we're in at the moment, this Black Tech Fest, this is an opportune networking opportunity. So I'm going to ask a little raise of hands out here. How many of you have spoken to these companies that are out here? Raise your hands. Perfect. Now, how many of you know how you're going to follow up with those conversations you've had? Close to enough, but what you really want to do is understand, like, okay, you've met these people, you understand the businesses, but to be front of mind and to build your network and your relationships is to then take the follow-up and further stages as well. I'm a big believer of networking of communities, hence building BRN, as well as in my recruitment work as well. I've pretty much secured most of my clients and placed the candidates through networking communities and different channels. So I guess to everyone, like, what should people be doing when they want to maybe find other opportunities that through networking, and how best to do that as well?
So I agree. I think networking is a really key point. I think I found out the other day that 70% of jobs in the UK are filled before they even go online. And so that's just through networking and referrals and recommendations, whatever. So I honestly think that people should be going on LinkedIn, connecting with groups within your field, reaching out to those groups, becoming even active members of those groups. Like you just have to keep on like going to these networking events, and a lot of them are enjoyable as well. Like, don't see it as a job, like, because right now, like, being here, you're not looking for a job, you're looking for your career, or you're trying to build your career. So have that in your mind. Go to these networking events, make yourself visible, and it will pay off.
Yeah, I'll give you guys a little secret, and I don't really tell people this, but if you are in a networking event like this, I'm here to obviously provide value to you guys, but then also my business, I'm trying to get clients as well. And one of the things I do is that whenever I'm connecting with someone, to make the follow-up easier, you want to make them connect with you. So you want to bring out your phone and show them your QR code so they connect with you, because subconsciously, it's easier to follow up with someone if they've sent you a connection request. So that's number 1. And then number 2, which is a very cheeky hack, and it takes a lot of, I guess, courage to do this. Rather than just asking just for their LinkedIn, try and be cheeky and actually ask for their email. Literally bring out your notes app and be like, oh yeah, can I get your email? And just put the notes app in their face. And I promise you, 9 times out of 10, the UK people, we don't like confrontation. So literally you just be like, oh yeah, okay, cool, yeah, I'll put my email there. And guess what? Now you have 2 opportunities to follow up with these people that would guarantee you a response. So they've sent you a connection request on LinkedIn. Okay, I'm replying because you sent me a connection request. And now you have the email as well. So if they miss it on LinkedIn, you have them in email. Guaranteed, one way or another, you are going to make sure that you get this person. And if you want to be really brave, you can ask for their number, but that's at your own risk. But these are just like the few ways that you can basically make sure that you're optimizing the follow-up and response, and make sure that, you know, people are actually responding to you.
For me, being shy is not going to get you the job. Be shy at what you want, that's fine, but that's not what's going to make you stand out. There are so many people that are connecting, that are networking. It's so important to, whilst you have their attention, you know, striking while the, no, what's the phrase?
Strike while the iron is hot.
Fire is hot. That phrase, it comes from somewhere. When you're front of mind, because you've just connected with them or you've just emailed them, and even take it a step further, if that's an organization that you want to work for, go on their careers page. Hi James, great to connect. I've seen this position online. I'd be really interested. Are you the best person to speak to? If not, could you please point me in the direction of who is? Making sure that you're giving them as little opportunity to sort of like back out as possible. Because if you just say, are you the right person to speak to? And they say no, where do we go from there? But if you're being very intentional, saying, hi, are you the best person to speak to? Don't wait for them to come back and say no. If not, could you please let me know who is? You really have to put yourself out there.
Okay, so, Stephen, your tip on how you connect, I'm going to take that one because I need it and I'm going to use it. We've got that locked in mind. But it's so true what everyone's been saying. And I think one thing as well that you touched on, Chrissy, was this idea of like, because of the tech market we're in, there's a lot of experienced people that are out of work. And so maybe like at times they might be easier for them to then find that role because they've got the experience. But in this kind of conversation, obviously looking at early talent when you may not have the experience, this may be your first role going into tech. One thing that you touched on was around like pivoting and maybe looking at sort of side steps. But with that, also the idea of maybe like understanding what type of roles you should, what's the word I'm looking for? Compromise on. There we go. So I guess I wanted you to touch on that, like how to know when you should compromise on like the career path or the role you're going for, and just about side steps in general.
People, it's going to make me sound really old, but I think TikTok, the internet, Instagram has given people this expectation that you're going to go into tech and tomorrow you're a CEO. It doesn't happen like that. I'm so sorry to you. It takes time, and also it's not about just going from 0 to 100 at the same time. Sometimes you will have to take a side step. Sometimes you will have to move into a role that sort of, pays the same. Sometimes if you're really passionate about getting into that industry, it might be a case of you taking a bit of a cut. However, it's what you do with it from that point. You can't just think, because I am, what am I trying to say? Because I'm great or I know I would be good at this. People are not going to people don't know you. Do you know what I mean? So when you are pivoting, I think the thing to do is look at the big picture. Where is it that you want to go? Not everyone is going to have their, their career path or their life plan for the next 10, 15 years sorted out, especially in a world that's so dynamic where things are changing so quickly. Think to yourself, okay, I'm getting into this. What is the job that I want to be doing next or after that, and work backwards. Go on LinkedIn, find people who are in that position now, look at their career path backwards. Where did they come from? What have they done? You have to be open to doing things that get you to the end goal. And sometimes you do have to compromise on that, whether it is the size of the organization that you work with, the salary that you'll be paid. Maybe you were a senior in your last position and you're going to an executive role. Don't get me wrong, I know this economy is squeezing us. I'm not saying like you have to take that job, that pay cut if it's something that isn't viable for you. But if it is, and you can compromise on that, do that. Once you're in there, it's a lot easier to prove your worth and to demonstrate your value, but you can only do that once you're in the door.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think TikTok has made a lot of people a bit delusional, if I'm being honest. I think you go on TikTok, someone says how to navigate your first job or how to
make six figures
or negotiate your first salary in your first role. No. Personally, I started recruitment 7 years ago. When I started recruitment, I was on 17K. I don't even know how I navigated months. And I was renting at home as well. Like, it was just mad. It was mad. But obviously, I'm not on 17K anymore. But you have to start from somewhere. If you want to get in the industry, get in the industry. Like, I think since COVID, a lot of things have changed. Like, everyone wants a remote job or hybrid role. Like, if you have to go into the office 5 days a week, you have to go in 5 days a week. That's how it is for now. If you've got to do that for 2 years, those 2 years will fly by. When you get to where you are in your career, you'll look back and say, yeah, I've done the work. And that's what it is. It's about doing the work. Like, it's not going to come easy. So I would say, like, if you can compromise, understand, like, if you've got bills to pay and rent and there's certain things you can't compromise on, understandable. But if you can, then do it.
Sorry, just to quickly piggyback off what you said about hard work, that is another thing that's really important. I'm so sorry, you're not going to get into your first tech job or whatever job and be working 4 hours a day, coming in at 10, taking a meeting, then going over to lunch. It's not going to be that. You actually have to put the work in, and again, that's that compromise. Sometimes you will be in the office a little bit later. Sometimes you will open up your laptop on the weekend. And don't get me wrong, it's not. I'm not saying that that's something that a workplace should promote. Absolutely not. Your hours are your hours. However, it's about, again, giving yourself the advantage. Those people that are there doing their regular 9 to 5, absolutely fine, but it's that extra bit of effort that's going to make you stand out and benefit you in the long run.
Yeah, I think you guys covered it great. I have no further comments on that.
Perfect. And just want to touch on this before we go into questions. So if you have questions, have them ready to mind, because we're going to come and ask you. But I know you touched on this a bit, Jade, in terms of like the salary side, and it can be a very awkward conversation sometimes when you're in these interviews and they ask you what's your salary range and kind of putting your best self forward. Obviously, we are in the market where money is tight, both for us and the employers, but we don't want to undervalue ourselves also. So I guess what are maybe just like one tip each of like how to best kind of have that salary conversation?
So I think when you're interviewing for a job, the thing that, as a recruiter, please, I'm telling you guys, don't do this. I hate when people say, okay, I'm looking from 30 to 35K. So if the job's paying 36K, you're not going to accept it. Like, do you know what I mean? You're capping yourself. Never give yourself a bracket. Just say, I'm looking from this amount. Never, ever, ever cap yourself, number one. And I think it's, again, understanding you, who you are. Like, how much money do you need to live off of what you get, navigate, like living in London or living wherever you live, paying your rent, paying your bills, and then having some to save money. Understand your own personal responsibilities monetary-wise, and then that's how you can kind of understand what salary to have. I think negotiating salaries is good, but it's not always best practice when you're going into certain roles. From a recruiter perspective, we get the when we do our job briefing with hiring managers and stuff, like they give us a salary that they want. So for example, if a role's paying, I don't know, like 32K, we're not going above 32K. So if I'm having a conversation with someone that's like, no, I can accept 32K, but can't you go to 35K? No, I can't. So I don't think it's always best practice in the early stages of your career. I think when you get to a mid to senior level, then that's when those conversations should start being introduced.
Yeah, I think I have alternative views because obviously we're with recruiters here, and obviously I'm not a recruiter, so I'm always about like trying to secure the bag as much as you can. However, there's a caveat. I advocate for people to negotiate because it's an uncomfortable skill that you have to get familiar with. Because when you get to a senior level, if you're going to ask for 6 figures, these companies, if they could pay you £1 a year, they would. So with that being said, you have to be able to be uncomfortable with that feeling of like negotiating. Like you have to get the practice in, regardless of if you're speaking to a recruiter and they have a base level of like the salary they're going to go towards. You still just have to get that like practice of negotiating. And I advocate for everyone that I mentor to always just get that practice in. But then again, understanding the nuance that you can only really negotiate, and negotiating only really works well if you have leverage. So let's say, for example, you're speaking to a recruiter, but you have multiple offers somewhere else. By all means, you can start talking crud, for lack of better words. You could literally go there and be like, nah, I want the bag, I want this, I want that. Because you have leverage. You have other places that are going to give you the money you want. But in the instance in the job market like this, where you're only speaking to one recruiter, and that's the only offer on the table, by all means, play hardball to just get your negotiation skills in play. But if you know that that's the only offer you have and you need that job, you play hardball once, they say no, you take the offer and you move on. But it's about practicing that skill for later down the line and only negotiating and playing hardball when there's leverage on the table, aka when you have multiple offers. So that's like my take on that.
Can I just add something, sorry, quickly? Also, understand the relationship you have with your talent acquisition manager or recruiter. Like, build that relationship. Like, go a little bit deeper with them, because that will probably allow you to negotiate later on down the line. Like, don't just have like a blunt relationship and then towards the end of the process when you get a job offered and they're like, oh yeah, we offer you 35K. Okay, but I want 38K. It's dead from there. Do you understand? So like build that relationship with your recruiter as well.
Just to kind of like summarize all of that, just ask. Closed mouths don't get fed. If there is something that you're looking for, ask as early on in the process, because like Jade said, if you have said, you know, I'll take 80K, and then at the point of offer, you're saying, actually, I want 85, that, it doesn't look good, number one. And also, whenever you're speaking to the talent acquisition person, kind of don't over-explain yourself. I am looking for roles at this level or starting at this level, silence. There's a very British awkwardness thing that people don't like to sit in, but it's necessary sometimes. Put what you want on the table, and that's just that. Leave it at that.
I'm a big believer of sit in silence. Just
look
say
at
what you
each
want
other.
and then...
Let's be mad together.
Yeah.
Let's sit here together in silence. Who's going to speak first? It's not me.
Yeah, let's just stew on that. Like.
Perfect. Well, I'm looking at this timer. We've got just under a minute left. So I just want to see, does anyone have any questions for our panelists that they wanted to ask? Is there a mic anywhere?
I can see someone in the distance.
There's a mic coming to you.
Cool, thank you. I had a question. How much does previous prestige from companies you've worked for matter when it comes to getting an interview? I have this feeling that there's this, you know, auto veto for certain jobs I've applied for because, for instance, there's no McKinsey, Bain, etc. on the CV. Would love to get your thoughts.
For me personally, I think, yes, it can be a help if you have a big name on that on your CV. However, it's not the be-all and end-all, because what can tend to happen is, yes, you might have this big organization on your CV, but you're just a very small cog in a big machine. So it's not always the case that you've worked in a big company, so you have tons of experience. It can be the smaller ones. And this kind of goes back to the initial point of making sure that your CV demonstrates what it is you've actually done and the value you've added. The name doesn't matter if in that, the first section of your CV, the person that is looking at it is getting all the information that they need.
Yeah, just to echo what Chrissy said, you could work for a smaller tech company where I don't know, like let's say you're a UX designer, and in the smaller company, you increase the user experience by 90%, like whatever, but you wouldn't have the ability to do that at a bigger company. So just make sure those like quantifiable data stats as well with what you've done in your role, make sure they're all on your CV. Like your CV is the way to tell a story about what you've done. So yeah.
I know we're a bit over time, but we'll take another question at the front here.
I think it's twofold. Covering letters, does it depend on how seasoned you are in your industry, or do you recommend everyone to fill in a covering letter, even if it is almost a regurgitation of what is on your CV?
Can I take this one? So I think the main point when I say add the cover letter is more so from the perspective of just doing the most. You want to kind of give yourself every single chance to stand out. And 9 times out of 10, when you look at these job applications, there'll be an option for you to upload your CV. And then there's another section that's optional that just says supporting documents. Now, 9 times out of 10, a lot of people will just upload their CV and that's it. But then the one person that just happens to add a supporting document, whether that's a cover letter, whether that's a portfolio, that stands out. So that's the main thing. Now, in the context of like a cover letter, I don't think it's a regurgitation of the CV. I think it's just an expansion and going into a bit more detail in terms of like the actual role you're applying for. And the way I like to think of a cover letter is pretty much like in 4 stages. The first part is usually the hook. So the first paragraph is like, okay, how do I get this person to actually want to read on in this cover letter? So maybe highlighting like a standout achievement, like, I got employee of the year, or maybe like, a qualification that really just stands out. The next part is then when you actually go into detail about, okay, cool, what relevant skills do I have in relation to this role I'm actually applying to kind of like, I guess like conceptualize why you're actually good for the job. The third part then is why the company? Why do you actually want to apply for this company specifically? What makes you drawn to this company? Is it their DEI policy? Is it the deals or the things that they do in the market? And then the last part is, what is the value proposition? This is where you kind of tie it up with a bow. So like, what do you as a person uniquely bring to this organization? Is it your entrepreneurial mindset? Is it your can-do attitude? Are you just a relentless worker? And then that's pretty much it. And I feel like that's what should be included in every single cover letter to kind of make you stand out. But for the most part, the advice is just try and do the most to basically stand out amongst other candidates.
Only thing I would add to that is if your cover letter kind of reads the same as your CV, don't really bother with the cover letter. Kind of follow Stephen's steps there. But if your CV doesn't highlight why you'd be a good fit for the role, they're less likely to read your cover letter, really and truly. Because if the CV and what I'm reading doesn't align with this position, what you're going to write in the cover letter, that's going to change my mind around that. So I would say if you're going to add a cover letter, make sure the CV is kind of top priority in terms of making sure that you get past the first hurdle. And then the cover letter is like extra information. Yeah, man's telling me we're over time, but thank you everyone for coming to listen to this talk.
Thank you, guys.
We'll be here for the rest of the day, so come find us, chat to us, and yeah, thank you again.
One more time for our panelists, please.